All right, good evening and welcome to the school committee meeting for Tuesday, August 23rd. Would you please call the roll, Mrs. Pizarski?
Mr. Costello?
Here.
Ms. Boyd? Here. Mr. Greer? Here. Ms. Brate?
Here.
Ms. Stetson?
Will you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you everyone for being here. We have a busy night tonight, starting school. What do you need?
No.
Oh, I thought you were looking for something.
No.
I was like, uh-oh. So I'm excited school's coming up. We have a few principals over here. You guys excited for school? Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so we are going to reorganize our school committee tonight. Very exciting times. We need a vote to suspend Robert's Rules of Order to make Mr. Granatino the chair of the committee while we do our voting. So, okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Costello? Ms. Boyd? Mr. Greer? Yes. Mrs. Brate?
Yes.
All right, I'm in charge, okay? My favorite time of the year. Only for a second.
Passing
here.
the pencil.
So, per our policy BDA, when we reorganize the school committee, I take over while we nominate a chair or chairs to be nominated, and then a vote is taken. Once the chair is elected, then that chair will seek nominations for the vice chair and then for the secretary. So, do I hear any nominations for chair from the floor? We have a nomination from Mr. Costello. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Boyd. Any other nominations? Any discussion on the matter? All those in favor of having Mr. Costello serve as chair of the school committee? It's a roll call, I think, so, sorry.
Mr. Costello? Yes. Ms. Boyd? Yes. Mr. Greer? Yes. Mrs. Brate?
Yes.
So, Mr. Costello will come on up. Congratulations. And my time as acting chair is over.
Well done, Mr. Granatino.
There you go.
Oh yeah, I need that pencil.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's actually my pencil.
She needs that pencil. She's still the boss.
Was my pencil. Here.
Well, thank you very much. Excited to step into the role again and work with you all in that capacity. Before I seek nominations for vice chair and secretary, thank you, I forgot that. Before I seek nominations for vice chair and secretary, I think it's important to note that the last year has had some pretty difficult challenges that no school committee across the entire state or country has ever seen before, and our chair handled it with grace and a whole lot of intelligence. So I just want to thank Ms. Brate for all of her hard work over the last year and ask for a round of applause. The chair will now seek a nomination for vice chair. Is there such a nomination on the floor? Bridget Boyd has been nominated. Is there a second? Second's been made. Any other nominations at this time? Seeing none, that's a roll call. Ms. Pizarski for Bridget Boyd as vice chair.
Mrs. Brate? Yes. Ms. Boyd? Yes. Mr. Greer?
Yes.
Mr. Costello?
Yes. Okay, Ms. Boyd is once again the vice chair for, I believe, the 5th year in a row. Congratulations. And the chair will now seek a nomination for clerk of the school committee. Is there such a nomination on the floor? Rich Greer's been nominated. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Boyd. Any other candidates nominated at this time? Seeing none, that's a roll call for Mr. Greer as clerk. Ms. Pizarski.
Mrs. Brate? Yes. Ms. Boyd?
Yes.
Mr. Greer?
Yes.
Mr. Costello?
Yes. Thank you very much. I believe I need a motion to close the reorganization session, correct? Okay. Motion. Is there a motion on the floor to close the reorganization session of the school committee?
So moved.
So moved from Mr. Greer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Boyd. That's a roll call again. Ms. Pizarski.
Mrs. Brate? Yes. Ms. Boyd?
Yes.
Mr. Greer?
Yes.
Mr. Costello?
Yes. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll now move into our informational period, and I'll turn it on over to Superintendent Granatino.
All right, I will be brief, or try to be brief. I know there's a lot of stuff to discuss, but we're just really excited about starting the school year next week. Again, we're probably inching towards the majority of districts that have return dates prior to Labor Day. I know some of our neighboring schools go back after Labor Day, but I think it's a good thing to come back a little early, get a few days under our belt with staff and then with students before the Labor Day weekend. So just in a quick list of things I jotted down. First and foremost, I want to thank our custodians who have been doing a great job across all of our buildings. We have some new senior building custodians at the high school and at the middle school, and they're just doing great work, as well as all of the other schools have really been working hard. And schools like Martinson, they're kind of challenged a bit because we're running our extended school year program there until just about a week ago, and so there's a lot of work that has to get done quickly there in certain areas. So if you've been in the buildings, they look great. Most, if not all, of the foyer work and some of our elementary schools has been completed. We spent a lot of time and effort and used monies that we received at special town meeting for school safety to help augment the security at our buildings by having the double door foyers. You're familiar with them at the high school and the middle school, and Martinson has had it for a little bit, but we were able to put those in place, or in the process of finalizing putting them in place at our other elementary schools. So it's just one more impediment to anyone who's trying to come to the building to do harm to anybody. And we worked with the Marshfield police in kind of creating that, that plan last year. So it was nice to be able to see it come to fruition. We've also been using some of the special town meeting monies for security cameras around the buildings, enhancing some of the ones that were already there, and then putting some new ones in to give us better eyes around the building, and heaven forbid if we had a situation where we needed to see where a bad person might be, we're in a better position to do that now. Our new teachers are joining us and still joining us. We've had a few late season departures, and we're probably like every other school district right now in the state, in that we're still doing a little hiring, but we started our new teachers orientation this week under the leadership, I should say, of Dr. Martin. We had a handful of them in today, and the whole crew will be here tomorrow and Thursday. And it's always a fun time of the year for the new teachers to work together and meet each other and see what it's like to work here in Marshfield. And as we get ready for next week, we'll have our teachers returning Monday morning, 8 o'clock at the high school. We have our assembly there for all our staff. After our meetings at the high school are over, they have their building meetings going on, and then teachers will have most of the afternoons to finalize things in their rooms, get things spruced up. At the elementary level, we'll have our, I'm not going to say back to school night, because meet and greet, thank you. We used to be back to school night, now it's meet and greets from 4 to 6, and we started that last year in a more formalized program, and it was a big success last year. We're excited to see it again this year. Just a couple quick reminders. Free lunch, once again, although it's not a federal plan this year, voted by the legislature here in Massachusetts, our students will not have to pay for lunch again for the second year in a row, which is great. And we also had, as far as planning over the summer and work over the summer, one project I left off. If you've ever been at the Governor Winslow School, paving and sidewalks. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. At the Governor Winslow School, they had a large paving project, which again was part of the capital plan for the town and the school district this year, and that's been being worked on over the last few weeks, and it looks great, and we're really very excited because there's been some issues over there for a little while, and we were finally able to address them, so that was great. Our new website, I want to thank Ms. Przerski and Mr. Cawthorn, our Director of IT. They worked since last winter probably, planning it and then bringing it to fruition, but we have a new school district-wide website, and it's really exciting. We're able to do a few more things with it as far as getting direct communications out to parents in a quicker fashion. I think it's much more just appealing to the eye, and organizationally, it's a great setup. And it's still working out some of the kinks in it, but it's been up and running now for just under a month, and we're making great progress there. And I want to thank Ms. Przerski and Mr. Cawthorn for all the work they did there. I also just want to give, as far as another event that's happening at the beginning of the year. So our students come back Tuesday, grades 1 through 12. Wednesday next week, our Ks will be back, and then the following Tuesday, our preschool will be back the day after Labor Day. But an event going on next week, which is a pretty important event, and it's, I think, now the 8th annual one that we've had here in Marshfield, the International Overdose Awareness Day Vigil. And the last few years, they've had it in the morning over at Harbor Park. This year it's going to be back at 6:15 on the 31st. That's the International Day for International Overdose Awareness. And so the ceremony, which will have town representatives, school representatives presenting, it's a real powerful evening, and we're looking forward to it. If there are any volunteers out there that are looking to do something this Thursday at the town common next to the town hall, since we started the vigil back, I think it was my first year here, they've put out flags, purple flags, to represent all the overdose deaths in Massachusetts in the past calendar year. And they're going to be doing that at 4:30 on this coming Thursday evening, and they'll be up until next Wednesday, I think till the end of next week. But if there's anyone that's looking to get out and help, if you have a few extra moments and you want to pop by there, they're looking for volunteers. And that is all I have at this time.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you
you very much, Mr. Granatino. Dr. Martin?
Just a few things. As Mr. Granatino said, the Educator Academy started today, but it's not just a few of us. So we have Amy McAlpine, Megan Molander, Mrs. Golaro, all doing sessions for us. So it's many hands on deck for the 3 days. And, I cannot forget our athletic director, Mr. Battis, who does the bus tour. That's tomorrow afternoon, always a fun time. Our summer step-up ended last week for our elementary students, so we did grades 1 through 5. Some of them got bused over to the Boys and Girls Club after, so because of the United Way, we were able to participate in a grant again. Thank you, Mrs. Boyd, for putting us together last year with the United Way. So we were able to invite kids to keep up their summer learning and their skills for the fall. So start with hello. We are actually going to try bringing that back the first 2 weeks of school. So the first couple of days, we all wear name tags, address each other by name. The Wednesday, the 7th, we are hoping that police fire will join us in welcoming everyone back to our buildings. Thursday, the 8th, we have an attitude of gratitude, so we will be talking about things that we're grateful for in our schools and our buildings. And then Friday, the 9th, is Marshfield Spirit Day, where everyone's going to wear their Marshfield gear. So we're excited for that, those 2 weeks, and we're excited for the school year. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Martin. Mr. Miller?
Hey, you can use mine.
Wow. Everyone awake?
I'm scared to give it.
I think it was just.
No, it's off now.
Oh, yeah, it's off. It's good. All right. I probably should have just passed.
Okay. And the microphones were working so well.
Extra sensitive. Yeah, I probably should have just passed after that. Just moving forward, getting ready for the school year. A lot of work with our buses and our vans, transportation-wise. That information should be going out, be finalized in the next couple days. As Mr. Granatino said, there's a lot of work going on in the district. Not only the doors at Amesway, Danny Webster, Governor Winslow, but there's also the Governor Winslow paving. We had a big move of the Martinson preschool to Amesway, and this goes all back to our custodians, as Mr. Granatino said. They're really the MVPs of the summer, and getting all that work done. A couple other things. The Munis transition is ongoing, working with the town on that. We're looking at a November go-live date there. It's taken up a lot of work, and this is the time of the year where we're juggling 3 budgets. Still working on FY22 with the town, just about finished there. Hopefully a report at the next committee meeting. Looking like a good closeout for fiscal 22. Reworking the fiscal 23 budget as our salary expenses start to come to fruition for this school year. And we have a meeting in 2 weeks for the FY24 budget to kick off. So everything's starting to come together there as well. So, but we're in a decent spot financially coming out of the pandemic with all the grants and our operating budget's in good condition. So I think that's it.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. Any subcommittee reports at this time? No? Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to move to the student reports. Is there a student report at this time?
Thank you. For the middle school, Life Touch will be on site Thursday, September 8th for school pictures. You can order online at mylifetouch.com. And for the high school, parking permit forms are due August 25th at 1:15 at the latest, with a copy of your license, a check for $50 for a spot in the lottery for a junior or senior lot spot.
And there's not much for the elementary schools other than the kindergarten starts on Wednesday of next week, and 1 through 5 starts on the Tuesday.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, girls. Appreciate it.
Thank you, gang.
We've reached the point of the meeting for public comment. Any member of the public wishing to address the committee is invited to come up and do so. Mr. Kelly. And as you know, just name and address before you begin.
Eric Kelly, Peterson Path. Congratulations, Sean. Why am I not surprised that you were back as chair? It's unfortunate nobody else in the committee can step up.
Thank you very much.
I was at a Marshfield school, not a committee, but within the school, the group that puts together the rules and regs, and it was my first one to be at, and there was a couple of things that came up in the discussion, and page 69 of the school rules there, they made some changes, and it says athletes are expected to participate in practices and games that occur over school vacations. If a student athlete is not in attendance due to being on vacation, the student athlete will be held out of the athletic contest for each missed game. The consequence for missing the practice during vacation is not starting in the next athletic contest. It was after the meeting that I and Mr. Kuther and some staff there were in the midst of discussing this, and I had some serious disagreements where it's a vacation for the students from school, and they're being penalized, especially if they have to go away with their parents. And they got to miss games or practices. This, once again, is, in my opinion, unacceptable. And this rule should be looked at by the school committee, which you are full and well aware of that you can, and send it back to them to make changes. This should not stand, and I don't believe a student should be penalized just due to the fact that they are on school vacation, and they may be required by their parents to go, and they're being penalized because they can't make practices or games that may be out of their control. Other than that, I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Just for committee's note, he is referring to, under new business, the MHS and FBMS school handbooks, just for your notes. Any other members of the public wish to address the committee at this time? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to the MEA update. I'm sorry, was a hand up? Did I not see a hand? No. Oh, did somebody else have a hand up? I just didn't know. I couldn't see past Ms. Pazurski. I didn't know if somebody else was raising. Okay, great. MEA update.
I don't want to step on it. Sarah Marples, President of the Marshfield Education Association. I just want to echo everybody's enthusiasm about the upcoming new year, the school new year, and we have been meeting with the administration over the summer to make sure that we move forward as a team and do our best for our students. We are eager to get back to normal and make sure that we all achieve, both our students and our teachers and all our support staff. So I want to wish everybody a tremendously successful and satisfying school year for the FY22, FY23 year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sally. Okay, we're going to switch some things around on the agenda. I'm going to take the minutes at the end, and I'm going to move the Marshfield Community Media up first, and I'll recognize our friend Jonathan Grabowski, who is here to discuss some new great things going on with the newly rebranded Marshfield Community Media.
Mr. Mills just getting the PowerPoint all set up. You can just hit slideshow, and I can run it if you want. So it's actually kind of funny, because I think last time I was here presenting was you guys were changing roles, so it must be me. So for those that don't know, I'm Jonathan Grabowski. I'm the Executive Director of Marshfield Community Media, 732 Ames Way. So every year I come before you just to kind of talk about what's been going on with the organization and our efforts with the school department. So you can go to the next slide. So first off, the big change. So as of July 1st, we are now known as Marshfield Community Media. This was a long time coming. For several years, we were having these discussions of where are we going, what are we doing, where do we see ourselves? And it was almost organic in a way. We were doing more things outside the box, podcasting, digital arts. Then last summer, we did a strategic plan. You know, we were spinning our wheels for many years saying, what do we want to do? Well, let's figure it out. So we did a strategic plan. One of the big things that came out of it was a name change. So we discussed it. We had another consultant come in on something else in January, and they said, you know what, you really do need a name change. So that was after hearing two consultants tell us that, and after kind of saying, yes, you're right, we met with our graphic designer that we work with, and we decided to rebrand the organization to MCM, otherwise known as Marshfield Community Media. So as of July 1st, that's what we've been known as. So it's really exciting, and it's been a really fun thing. Turn it over. So I know the board hasn't changed, since last time I was here, but for those watching at home or in the audience, I'll kind of give the MCM 101. So we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. A lot of people think we're a government entity or a quasi-government organization. No, we're a separate 501c. I have a 5-person board of directors made up of Marshfield community leaders. I had some board change over the past year, which has been really great. Some older board members have retired, and some new fresh faces have joined the board, including MHS Athletic Director Bill Battis. We've always felt it's important to have someone from the schools, be on our board and serve as that conduit since we work so closely with you. Full-time staff of 5 and 1 part-time government assistant. 90% of our funding comes from cable license agreements. So, this is something that I'll mention, I'll talk about in a little bit, but when you look at your cable bill, Comcast or Verizon, we get a small percentage of that. Not your telephone, not your internet, just your cable bill. We get 4% of the gross quarterly profit, and that is 90% of our funding for the organization. The key components, the distribution platforms, we have the channels on Comcast and Verizon. We also have the Facebook Live, the YouTube, the streaming channel, the Roku app. About 5-6 years ago, we launched an initiative called MCTV Anywhere, Anytime, where people could get MCTV or MCM. I'm still saying MCTV after being there 14 years. It sticks to you. So, people can get MCM content anywhere in the world at their convenience. On their iPad, their phone, their TV. And this is great when we do large events like sports and graduation, where you have, loved ones who may not live in the area but want to see a graduation or a big game. So we're big into that. Our information source, during the pandemic, we worked closely with the town, the school department, in getting information out. Our Marshfield Community News program has been a big hit, and we're going to be taking that hopefully to the next level over the next 6 to 12 months. We have opportunities for organizations, individuals, business to come in, learn how to use the equipment, create content. Also, we collaborate with a lot of different organizations. A great example of this is the Marshfield Chamber of Commerce. We do a lot of work with them. For example, they're behind the business campaign that they're currently doing. We're doing the video content for that. And last year's Open for Business campaign, we had a great time working with them on that as well. And we're also working on Lobster Fest, as I look at the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce. A lot of community collaborations, as I mentioned, with groups like the Chamber and other organizations. And as I mentioned, new media. So that's why the MCM brand is now. We're heavily into podcasting, heavily into digital arts, gaming. So we're not just a TV station anymore. So next slide. So the overview of MCM and MPSD. So as all you know, we are located in Marshfield High School. We have our own little separate wing. We are in year 8 of a 10-year lease, which is crazy to think about. Time has flown by in that time. So we contribute fiscal and technological to the digital media and telecommunications department. So we are their technical support. We are their funding source. Everything kind of comes through the MCM budget. In FY22, that was actually a low year for us. It was $31,000, and that goes between interns, staffing, equipment, and technical repairs. So that's where that money is going to. As I mentioned, we cover the stipend for the after-school telecommunications activities, so anything that SHAC does after school, we're covering that. Also, as part of our lease with the school department, we have a grant program, and that's really exciting. So we have a grant up to $5,000, which is open to anyone in the district, any teacher, and we've had some really cool opportunities that have come through that grant, such as the makerspace at Furnace Brook, funding has gone to that. A drone has gone to South River School. So a lot of really cool, interesting things have come through that grant. And finally, the thing that I love the most is, we're doing the 14th year of our MCM MHS internship program. So what we've done, and this is something I started day one, was we took the students who are really excelling in telecommunications and digital media, who are thinking about it as majoring in a career or thinking about maybe as a profession, and they intern for us during their senior year. So they cover a wide variety of events. They work on productions in the studio, you name it. And about 75% of the students that have gone to this, have been through this program, have either majored or in a related field such as communications, film, something along those lines. So it's a real passionate thing and something we're really excited about because they actually do some really great work for us. So just kind of recap of the academic year. So on the education channel, there was 7,753 hours on that. We did some upgrades to the telecom and digital media program through equipment and other sources. The grant this year went to the Furnace Brook Middle School for their after-school book trailer club, which was really exciting. And just some of the events we covered. We did 84 games during the academic year, which was a lot, but we love it and the community loves it. One of the things that when we survey the community that we ask, what are you looking for from us? They always say sports. That's always the number one thing. We did live broadcasts of National Honor Society induction, prom red carpet, senior awards, and MHS graduation. So a lot of action, live events coverage for us this year. And this is not only distributed on our channels, but our Facebook Live and our streaming channel too. So we make sure we try to hit everyone as much as we can. Next slide. So moving forward, continued coverage of, of athletic events. Sean Larry, who handles our content, has already drawn up the schedule for the fall. So we're looking at about 35 sports events, not counting playoffs right now. So we're going to be in for a really fun fall with that. We have, continued support of the digital media and telecom program. We're doing some capital upgrades this year, which we're already working on. So we're upgrading the camera equipment in the large studio. So those 3 cameras are just been replaced. I've installed the last one this morning. We're also going to be doing an overhaul of the broadcast switcher in that room because after about 8 years, it's gotten a lot of use, getting used every day, and it's time for a new one. So those are 2 major capital upgrades in addition to some of the smaller things that we'll be doing with telecom and digital media. We will be hopefully working on renewing the lease between us and the school department. I know we'd like to get the ball rolling on that, just because we know these things take time, but it's been a fantastic partnership and it's definitely been an example of community collaboration. Another thing which, when I put this presentation together, this bill was still on the docket. So as many of you know, cable revenue is declining. Many of you probably have cut the cord maybe. So and because of this, we expect to lose about 20% of our funding over the next several years. So Mass Access, which is the advocacy organization for community media in Massachusetts, introduced a streaming bill with State Rep Joe Machino and a few state senators where a portion of streaming revenue from things like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, part of it would go to the state's general fund, part would go back to the municipalities, and part would go back to the community media centers like MCM. This bill was making some great headway until we got to the Joint Advanced IT Committee, where the House side was ready to, send it up on its way and give it a favorable recommendation, but the Senate chair of the committee was against the bill. And we thought that probably wouldn't be the best thing at this point to, bring that bill to the floor and have the chair, the Senate chair of that committee, say, I was against it. So that bill will be coming back in the fall, hopefully. We're going to be reintroducing that and have a stronger base of state reps and state senators. And the other big thing we're doing this year is we're going to be overhauling the MCM MHS internship program. After 14 years, we decided, hey, maybe it's time to take another look at it. It's been really successful, but let's do something different. So we have 3 great interns this year for us. So they're going to be required to cover one event a couple events a month, work on their own individual projects, which is something we've been trying to get them to do forever, but now we're forcing them because we have some really talented kids. In addition to that, at the end of the year, they're going to have to do a capstone project. And at the successful completion of that, they will also, in addition to being paid for their internship, will also be getting a $500 scholarship from the organization. So, nice overhaul of the program. So, I think that might be my last slide, Tom. Is that it? Great. So, that's basically, I know I just wanted to give you all a recap of everything that's gone over the past year and what we're going to be doing over the next academic year. As always, on behalf of the organization, my board, my staff, we appreciate the support and the great relationship we have with the school department and the school committee.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, John. That was great. As always, it's always great to hear all the things you're up to at MCN. Any questions or comments for Mr. Grabowski? No? Well, thank you again. The internship program in particular is one of the best things to watch you guys do. So thanks for all the content you produce.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, John.
Appreciate it. I'm just going to keep moving on down new business and go next to the DWS memorial benches and turn it over to Principal McNeil.
Evening. So I was here last year to ask permission for approval of a tree, a red maple tree, to be planted on the island of Daniel Webster. We have successfully planted, although with the drought, the bottom of my tree looks great, the top not so much, so I've been back and forth with Kennedy's. Hopefully, with a little sprucing up, we'll get that to grow. I was contacted earlier this summer by Marshfield Police Officer John Toomey, who wrote a grant for a memorial bench to be placed on the Daniel Webster Island next to the tree. So unfortunately, he cannot be here with us tonight, so he wrote something for me to read to you. Dear school committee members, I apologize that I cannot be here tonight to speak with you in person. I know you are very busy preparing for the upcoming school year. I was hoping to take a few minutes to hear my request. I was recently contacted by Joseph Crowley, the founder of TeamEdna.org, a foundation that raises money to gift granite memory benches to families who have lost a child to cancer. He told me that he had just heard about Danny Sheehan through some of my extended family and reached out to me about nominating him for one of the benches. While speaking with him, I told him about David Moykins and his family. I asked if he would be okay with me nominating both boys for a bench with the idea that we could put both benches at the Daniel Webster School and create a garden area for the Daniel Webster School kids. After hearing the story of the 2 boys and how instrumental both boys were with the Cops for Kids with Cancer fundraising, Joe told me to put both nominations in as a formality. He already knew they would be approved. I reached out to both families, Mr. Granatino and Principal McNeil, for approval to explore the idea. Joe, a professional landscaper by trade, came down from the North Shore to scout the area for possible ideas. With Mrs. McNeil's help, we decided on the grassed area in the middle of the Daniel Webster School driveway. Joe immediately began coming up with ideas to landscape the area around the tree that was planted for Danny, placing 2 granite benches looking out towards the marsh. Joe will do all the landscaping as part of the donation of the 2 benches. With your permission, I would like to nominate David Moykins and Danny Sheehan for these memorial benches on behalf of the town of Marshfield and the Daniel Webster School families. If approved, Joe would like to plan to have his team prep the area during the week and place the benches before the beginning of the school year. Obviously, time is running short, so we will move this to later in September. He would be able to prep the area and have a small placement ceremony on Saturday in September. As part of the ceremony, Joe would like to invite the families, their friends, and members of the community on a Saturday morning in September. The town of Marshfield would like to nominate Daniel Sheehan, who passed away from brain cancer on August 8th, 2021. We were gifted with the joy of little Danny, who in 8 short years became an icon, a celebrity, and a friend to the entire town. Danny was a comedian who brought an honorary member of the Marshfield hockey team and a special police officer, although he spent most of his time on the job working undercover. He made friends with everyone in town, especially his buddies at Daniel Webster School. Danny made anyone who was around him laugh with his jokes and smile, with his always upbeat personality. He became an international celebrity, an internet sensation, a radio DJ, and a superhero to us all. Danny was instrumental in Marshall's annual Cops for Kids fundraiser. The town of Marshfield is so grateful to his mother, Natalie, and his father, Dan, for sharing Danny with all of us as he went through his life, and nothing could show our appreciation more than a 10-mile parade with fire trucks and over 100 police cars from all over the state. Thousands of Danny's friends lined the streets for the entire route. All the sports teams came out in uniforms, including the hockey teams, who all brought their sticks. It has been almost a year since Danny went to heaven, but no one has forgotten him. The legend of Danny will always live on. On behalf of the town of Marshfield, we would like to respectfully nominate Danny for a memory bench. At the age of 15, David Moykins passed away after battling brain cancer with a maturity and strength beyond his years. Was the proud son of Laurie and William, and a hero to his twin brother Nathan and 2 sisters, Madison and Riley. David was an avid swimmer with a positive outlook on life, who always wanted to help those around him. He inspired all those around him to fulfill acts of kindness. He inspired all those around him during his battle with his strength and his witty personality. David embraced every opportunity to the fullest without fear. He loved spending time with his family and many friends he met while attending Daniel Webster Elementary School. I respectfully nominate David for a memorial bench on behalf of the town of Marshfield and David's friends from the Daniel Webster Elementary School. So I'm asking for approval to place the 2 benches next to the tree on either side, and we've sort of designed a little heart to go around with the 2 benches on the side. So it's going to be a little garden area facing the marsh.
Thank you. Incredibly written. That was beautiful. Any questions or comments? Mr. Greer?
Yeah, I have questions, but I'm in favor of this whole thing.
Sure.
So if I ask questions, it's just so we dot the i's on the policy?
Yep.
Or this is the first time I think we've kicked the policy kicked the tires on the policy outside of the school, right?
I believe so.
We've done it inside, naming, rooms and things like that, so. So have you submitted before a drawing, right?
Yes.
Okay, check. You have a plan? Who's going to maintain this?
So I think it's little to no maintenance with it. I know the tree we've been maintaining, our custodial staff has maintained the tree so far. I think the benches will have little to no maintenance.
Okay. Yeah, so it seems like the policy works. I'm ready to vote on it.
Awesome.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Would you like to add anything before we?
No, I think it's going down a path, no pun intended, that we haven't always done, but I think it's, a very deserving cause, and for 2 very remarkable young men. We have had a few outside, just for clarification, a few outside dedications in that actually at Daniel Webster, a tree was put outside for Ms. Evans when she retired a couple years ago, and then I believe the street adjacent to the football field was named after Coach Silva. That's in my time. I don't know if there's been anything else, but you're right. For students, this is the first time, and typically the committee, when there's any type of naming, sometimes we'll go to meetings if it was somebody who had passed, a past educator or someone in the town. But I don't think having to wait for a second read is necessary in my mind.
I agree.
But
I'm comfortable waiving second read if that's the will of the committee. I think it's, obviously we've talked about it in the past, it's such a horrible thing that the community was struck with that, but also it's a horrible thing that they were both from the same elementary school community. and from the same area. So this is a very nice way to honor their memory, and the two boys really did have such a huge impact on the town of Marshfield. So if we're ready to move for a vote, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the construction of two memorial benches in memory of Daniel Sheehan and David Moykins.
So moved.
So moved from Ms. Boyd. Is there a second? Second from Mr. Greer. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? That's 4-0-0. Ms. Pazerski.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.
Well, I'm going to keep moving on down the new business and go to the MHS and FBMS school handbooks and recognize Principal Kemet and Principal Kuther. How are we?
I'm great. How are you?
Awesome.
Good. I will. So my school council and I reviewed all of the handbook as well as other things. Mrs. Campbell, who's not here, is on my school council. We made some subtle changes. I mean, we do some of the typical changes with names, school year, school committee members, etc. We did take out the section on face masks because we're not required to do that by DESE. We kind of just added some of the language for offenses that may result in schools or some type of school suspension. We also tweaked our dress code a little bit. I don't have it in color, but the highlights are what we added. There's only one thing we deleted, which does say delete, which is pajama bottoms and slippers. Pajama bottoms and slippers, we don't allow them to be worn to school. It's been a little bit of a safety hazard. We actually deleted it, sorry. We do, sometimes we have pajama day, so they were not allowed. We don't allow slippers, but we talk about safe footwear. Oh, I'm sorry. This, but I don't want to do what Mr. Miller did. We changed just some of the things that we have to do for the traditional changes in any of the school council members, school committee members, dates, etc. Ooh, sorry. We changed some of the things we have to do just for the change of the school year, as well as the calendar. I drew a new letter, so that's a new letter for the coming school year. We deleted the section on face masks. We changed a little bit of the language of what may result in a type of school suspension. And then for dress code, we made some just subtle word language changes. We added a little bit. And we deleted one line, which was about pajama pants and slippers. We took that out of sometimes we have pajama day. We don't encourage slippers because that could be dangerous, but overall, that hasn't been a problem. You're welcome.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I feel like I'm pretty loud, but I guess I'm not. Gotcha.
Mr. Kuther, I know you don't have a problem with your voice. You go right ahead.
I won't have a problem with my voice. No.
Ms. Kemet, thank you for not doing that.
Mr. Costello, congratulations on being named chair tonight, so we appreciate that. Congratulations to Ms. Boyd and Mr. Greer as well, and Ms. Brate, you did an amazing job last year, so thank you for your leadership. At the high school, the document that we shared with you has 44 changes. Most of those changes are a reflection of our four-year changeover with the academic standards with the grade point average. We are now all on the new standards, so those standards are no longer new, but they're the standards for Marshfield High School with our graduation requirements and all of those things. I am going to highlight several changes that are significant, just want to make sure that you're aware of as a committee, and then I'll answer any questions on any numbers that you have. The first one that I'd have you look at is number 4. It's just a reminder that we are back to MCAS testing. The state passed a new set of MCAS requirements just in the last 2 weeks. When that information becomes available, that information will go into the student handbook. But students in grade 10, sophomores, will take the MCAS assessment in English and math, and our 9th graders will take the biology assessment, and they are now all required for graduation. So there was a little wave with that, with the whole COVID piece, but we're now back on target. So that piece is highlighted in the book and referred to in the book. Number 13, just to bring to your attention, so our National Honor Society last year, our students in National Honor Society amended their constitution and raised the grade point average to get into the National Honor Society from 3.5 to 3.75. And so they have a constitution that they follow, and they bring that piece forward. So that's for your information, but wanted you to know that we've increased our standards in National Honor Society. And so we're actually excited about that our students led the charge to say we want a higher GPA, and we want this group to really excel in that capacity. So just really excited about that component. So that's number 13. Do you have any questions on 1 through 13 that I should answer? And I'll just continue moving. Hearing none, some of these you're going to laugh at. Okay, so in number 17, under our section and requiring or talking about cell phones and electronic devices, we had to add the words earbuds. So earbuds are now effectively in the handbook and talks about the fact that a student must remove the earbuds when in class. Okay, so just some of this is very, very applicable in that regard. So that's how the handbook sort of changes to and from, right? But just an important piece for you to be aware of as we move forward. The next one that I'd highlight for you is a big change for us is number 21 on the list. It's on page 33, and it's we've basically eliminated our previous dress code, found that it was very archaic and not appropriate, and have replaced it with a new dress code. The dress code we're using, most of the schools across the South Shore are using now. It gets rid of, 4 inches above your hand and things about, how short shorts can be and skirts can be and black shirts can't say. But one of the things that I do want to highlight, it's the responsibility for the dress and appearance of students will rest with the individual students and parents. They have the right to determine how a student will dress, providing that the attire is not destructive to school property, complies with requirements for health and safety, and does not cause disorder or disruption. We're required to make that decision, right? But this important piece is in here, which I think it really speaks to our times. Clothing must be free of offensive language that might include, but not limited to, reference to drugs, alcohol, violence, profanity, or sex, or depict hate speech or imagery that targets groups based on race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, religious affiliation, or any other classification. We went through some significant cultural proficiency training last year, and this was one of the conversations that we had with our trainer on areas that we could look at to really make some improvements for our school, and we've gone through that. In an instance where this above is violated, parents will be notified and students will be asked to change their clothes. So if someone wears an offensive shirt to school, we ask them to put a sweatshirt on, we ask them to go home and change their clothes and come back to school. But just wanted to be aware that that's a change for us, okay? Probably the biggest change that I'm presenting tonight. If you have any questions on 20 through 25, I'll continue moving. The next one that I would again, sign of the times, that I just want to bring to your attention, number 30 on our list, page 43, we have added a bullet. Students are not permitted to order lunch or deliveries from outside services during school hours. DoorDash, Grubhub, Manny's to the main office, Starbucks, you name it, right? Any student who orders or arranges for outside deliveries from the outside vendor will be scheduled for a due process hearing. We had a couple of instances where that occurred last year, and students actually trying to sneak out back doors to, get their Grubhub delivery. And so we've had to navigate that a little bit, but we thought it was important we put it in here. All right, so again, a reflection of the sign of the times, right? And so, but just I bring that just to highlight to you. My final piece, the last one is number 43, and it goes on page 69 of our handbook, which is our area regarding athletics, and it talks about participation eligibility. Athletes are expected to participate in practices and games that occur over school vacations. If a student athlete is not in attendance due to being on vacation, the student athlete will be held out of an athletic contest for each missed game. The consequence for missing a practice during vacation is not starting the next athletic contest. What we were doing here is we were clarifying for our student athletes and putting a consistent piece in place across the board. Past year we had some issues with vacations and coaches managing things differently, which causes us a lot of problems because this happened with the tennis team and this happened with the lacrosse team and this happened with So we met with our coaches, talked our coaches through it. Our student athletes already know that they need to participate during vacation week, but if they do that, if something of that nature occurs, we want to make sure that we're fair and consistent with how we're applying it. And so this is what's been brought forth to the school council. All of the changes, 1 through 44, were presented to the school council and voted on for approval unanimously. And we had 4 students take part in all of that, and we're very pleased with the things that were brought forward. Okay?
Great, thank you. Any questions, comments from the committee? No? Well, I want to thank you both for such a thorough presentation, as always. No surprise there. Appreciate all the hard work, especially as you're gearing up for another school year. So thank you both. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I also want to thank the school councils that work with you to do that. Those staff and students that sit on that, and parents, and it's a lot of work, a lot of responsibility, so thank them.
Absolutely. And thank you, Mr. Greer, for just for clarification purposes. The school committee does not have to vote on these. It's just an informational presentation on what their school councils have voted on as they oversee the student handbooks. So we appreciate that. Mrs. Kemet, I have a question for you. One of my favorite days of the year is One Book, One School Day.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure of the date, but
Okay.
I will get back to you as soon as
Please
I
do.
talk to Joni.
Can't wait.
I think I know, but I don't want to say it. Mrs. Lynch and Mrs. Alberico will be very upset if I say it the wrong thing.
Gotcha, okay.
But one of our office is coming, so we have a lot of information.
Awesome.
Fall, so there'll be a lot of information on that.
That's very cool. Can't wait.
So stay tuned, and you will all be invited, everyone.
Thank you very much. We
Thank you
appreciate
much.
it.
I'm shutting the microphone off, Ms. Pazerski, or do you want me to bring it to you? I can keep it over there. There you go.
Thank you very much. Okay. This would be the third time we've tabled them.
Be careful, Tom.
You can bring it up when we discuss it, because the policy subcommittee discussed it. So you're welcome to bring it up. Totally fine. I'm sorry, he's had a question on an agenda item that's coming up. So we're actually going to go to that in just a minute. Next up is the FBMS Math and Social Studies book surplus. I believe that's you, Dr. Martin.
I got this one.
Oh, Mr. Miller.
This one,
The-
Money Man.
The coordinators or department heads, they pick and choose between Dr. Martin and I when we're looking to get rid of stuff. So this one came to me. This is FBMS, both math and social studies. The items are listed in the documentation. Include several obsolete and no longer of value books in mathematics from coordinator Matt Murphy in math, and similarly the coordinator Kristen Olberg in social studies. It's a simple vote to approve to designate the FBMS math and social studies books as surplus.
Wonderful, thank you. Any questions, comments? Is there a motion on the floor to declare the FBMS Math and Social Studies department books as surplus?
So moved.
So moved from Mr. Greer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Boyd. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? That's a 4-0-0. Thank you very much. Next up on the agenda, I'm going to go with the old business. We're going to do the policy update for transparency clarification. What Mr. Greer had asked with this policy is what read we were on and whether or not it would be up for discussion or if it was going to be voted on at the next meeting. I informed him I believe this is the third read and that he's welcome to bring up that question during discussion, which I believe he will do. So I'll go ahead and turn it on over to you, Mr. Granatino.
Okay, so at least 1 or 2 meetings ago, we brought forth a possible policy change related to the publication of student images, videos, and other such media. Currently, we have a policy that does a lot of that with relations to school-driven social media platforms, like my Twitter account or school Twitter account. You'll see pictures and posts from different events going on. But the gist of this one, which makes it a little different, is we were looking at when student images or pictures or information might show up on a staff member's private social media platform. So say there's an event at school and someone wants to put it on their Facebook or on their own Twitter outside of school. So we want to just have some of the same safeguards in place for that situation, which allows parents to have a say whether or not they want to have their child's image put forth. Every year during beginning of the school year, parents have the chance to sign off on whether or not they want to have their student's likeness or image used in a social media platform or published by the school district for an event that might be coming up. And there's always a handful that would prefer not to, and that's fine, and we respect that. But the main purpose of this was to kind of augment the language that we have in place. So there were some revisions in talking with Mr. Costello and Ms. Brate, who are on the Policy Review Committee, and we kind of had a cleaned up version, and it was posted into the folder late, but it reflects pretty much the same language as was noted in the first draft that we were working off of before. I want to be able, if you haven't had a chance to look at it electronically, I have hard copies of it as well and share with the group. But the main purpose of what this would do, if put in place, would have a safeguard where parents would have a chance to sign off on, or before a staff member was going to post something, say a fun event that happened at school, and they wanted to put it on their own Twitter account or something separate from the school accounts, they would have to make sure that they had permission from the student's family to allow them to do so. So the language in the most revised version of this draft outlines that, and it's in the folder for you to review. I have hard copies of it as well here, if that's easier, and can address any questions. I'd worked a lot with Ms. Brate on this originally, so that is it. So that's what this would do. The first part of it is somewhat repetitive to policy IJNDC. That's the one related to publication of student images. This, again, is mainly going to address whether or not a student image or namesake or any information related to the student is going to be put on a non-school related social media platform, and the need for permission from the parents for that to happen. Bias, definitely, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Granatino. Any questions, comments? No.
The only question I have is, do we have jurisdiction for things that happen outside of the school?
I would say that we do with regards to folks that are under the employment of the district with regards, and we've had this discussion, I know Ms. Marples is back there, and we've had this discussion about, we have in our staff handbook language in there related to, staff members not friending students on social media. And while it's not a handbook policy or a school committee policy, it's an agreement that we have as far as a staff expectation. So this is kind of an extension of that. It codifies it a little bit more with the school committees imposing this. We did work with school council and coming up with some of the language here. And it's going down grounds a little different than we typically do, but again, the purpose would be to make sure that our students' images aren't showing up on social media platforms where they might not be approved by the parents.
Other questions, comments, if you'd like.
Yeah, well, we need something in place, right? So let's kick the tires on it and see what happens, so.
Okay.
There's no sense revising it until we actually apply it, right?
Okay.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Yes, Ms. Boyd.
I'm just flagging, there's I think in the, let's see, 5th paragraph, it looks like there's a phrase missing from the first sentence. So it says images of student or parents to students in videos or whether it looks, there's something missing, it looks like after that
Oh.
comma.
I don't know if that's on the original as well. It was missing the first one too, so,
I'm not sure whether
Yeah.
whether there's meant to be a phrase and they're saying it's not restricted, but it looks like there's a phrase missing in that sentence.
Actually, I thought so too when I read it, but images of students or appearances of students in videos or other such media that are only incidental to the media as a whole, whether taken by third parties, district official, or school employees
Oh, okay.
are also not restricted by this policy.
I think
I think
you know what? the-
capital D.
Yeah, the capital
Yep.
D.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I thought the same thing when I saw
Yeah,
that.
it looked like it was like a new sentence starting.
Yep.
No, I read it the same way you did.
Thank you.
And again, I think the language, and we can share it here, just so we're on the same page, that makes this a little different, augments the existing policies related to student images, is in the third to last paragraph, where it says, in addition to any restrictions that may be imposed on student images being posted to school-based social media platforms, school employees may not post images, videos, or other such media of a particular student or any personal social media accounts, including but not limited to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, without first obtaining written consent by the parent or guardian of that student. So again, we're not looking to limit them if they're putting something on the school website or in the school Twitter sphere, but it's just something that if it's going to show up on someone's private page, they just want to make sure that they have the approval of those that might be in it.
Any other questions, comments? Is there a motion on the floor?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve made by Mr. Greer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Boyd. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand, saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? That's 400. Ms. Pazerski.
Thank you.
And facility rental rates. Mr. Miller.
Yes, so our facility rental rates haven't been updated in about almost 4 years, going back to December of 18. There's just a few items here that need to be addressed. The first one being a slight increase in our gymnasium and cafeteria rates. Currently, we're at $5 an hour. We are moving that to 10 in the nonprofit range, and then from 10 to 20 in the 5 to 10 in the Marshfield youth groups, and then 10 to 20 in the nonprofit range for those two items. And then the other increases are with our salary increases that have taken place over those 4 years, and just raising the custodial fee to cover our highest paid custodian. Last year we were actually taking in money that was less than what we were paying a couple individuals for their services for the building rentals. And then similarly, just with the food services, and then our stage manager, sound technician, lighting operator, AV monitor fee that we also have in the building rental policy. So just a slight update on some of those rates that we charge. And this will go in effect on September 1st.
Any questions or comments from Mr. Miller on this proposal? This is a second read. If there's no,
Motion to approve.
thank you, Mr. Greer. Motion's been made by Mr. Greer to approve the new facility rental rates. Is there a second? Second's been made by Ms. Brate. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand, saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? That's a 400. We will move on to the meeting minutes. We have two sets of minutes to approve, the first being July 19th, 2022, and then the second being the executive session meeting minutes from July 19th, 2022. Give you just a moment to read those over.
We both have to abstain.
Yes. You know what, folks? I apologize. Looking at this note, Mr. Greer and I were both absent from that meeting, and with Ms. Stetson being unable to be here tonight, we wouldn't have a majority to approve these meeting minutes, so we will postpone those until our next meeting. I believe that is all of the business before us tonight. I will entertain a motion in a moment to enter into executive session, but I do want to use just a moment of privilege to say, to note a passing of a former Marshfield High School employee, and ask that we enter into executive session and just keep this person in memory. For those of you who may know Ginny Bowker, who was a long-time school psychologist at Marshfield High School until about 2007, passed away last week. And just want to note that Ginny Bowker was a wonderful woman who absolutely loved everything about her job at Marshfield High School. I had the pleasure of working with her my freshman year of high school through some issues that she was incredibly helpful with. and the honor of being the last student in her office on the last day of her work, and had the pleasure of walking her out of the building. Just a wonderful person, and would just ask that you keep Ginny Bowker and her family in your thoughts, and that we, as we adjourn our meeting tonight, we do that in memory of Ginny Bowker. Thank you very much. The chair will now entertain a motion to enter into executive session, not to return to open session, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, and to conduct a strategic session in preparation for collective bargaining negotiations with union personnel. Is such a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Motion's been made by Mr. Greer. Is there a second? Second from Ms. Boyd. That's a roll call. Ms. Pazerski.
Ms. Brate, Ms. Boyd, Mr. Greer,
Yes.
Mr. Costello.
Yes. Thank you very much, folks. We appreciate it.